Elizabeth, thanks. Now let's take a live look at the White House, where Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. could walk away from ceasefire talks between Ukraine and Russia if they do not come to a final agreement soon.
He also outlined some of the ceasefire terms, but recent comments by Ukraine's president indicate those terms will not work out. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp reports.
Vice President J.D. Vance says Ukraine-Russia negotiations are at a tipping point.
We've issued a very explicit proposal to both the Russians and the Ukrainians, and it's time for them to either say yes or for the United States to walk away from this process.
The vice president then lays out their proposed terms for a ceasefire.
The current line, somewhere close to them, is where you're ultimately, I think, going to draw the new lines in the conflict. Now, of course, that means the Ukrainians and the Russians are both going to have to give up some of the territory they currently own. There's going to have to be some territorial swaps. So I wouldn't say the exact lines, but we want the killing to stop. And the only way to really stop the killing is for the armies to both put down their weapons, to freeze this thing, and to get on with the business of actually building a better Russia and a better Ukraine.
The U.S. is also proposing that Ukraine should not join NATO as part of the ceasefire agreement, a stark reversal from the previous administration's vision for Ukraine. The vice president's comments are a day after Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said they would not give up any of their territory as part of the agreements. A meeting between the U.S., Ukraine, and European allies was pared down this week after Secretary Marco Rubio backed out and sent an envoy in his place. The White House says they're sending an envoy to Moscow this week to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Zelensky says Russia continues to strike their country, including civilian targets, which he says violates the previous ceasefire agreement from a month ago. He says the first step in a long-term ceasefire agreement is to stop the attacks.
Peace begins in silence, and only when there is genuine silence and when people trust the entire negotiation process can the fundamental issues begin to be resolved.
In Washington, Rachel Knapp, Erie News Now.